Welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of Otherworldly Encounters with Mike and Brian. Brian, we're going to talk conspiracy theory today.
JFK.
The big one. Brian, before we kick this off, what are we getting into tonight for our drinks?
Yeah, so I stopped at the gas station on the way home. We had one of these already while we were going through what we were talking about today. But today we're going to have Mommy Bay Brewing Company in Ohio, Fallen Timbers Red Ale.
Yeah, and I'm going to have the same thing, so I need to throw it up there. I meant to have this in the koozie prior to the start so it didn't look like a ding-dong.
Yeah, well, that way, people can see the label if they want to know what it is. All right, so we're talking... Actually, you know what? Before we get into this, real quick. So over the weekend, I had a cool opportunity. The stadium series for the NHL. So the Columbus Blue Jackets played the Detroit Red Wings in Ohio Stadium. Saturday night, it was 28 degrees to start the game. I think like 18 when it was over. 21 pilots played after the first period. 94,000 people in the stadium for a hockey game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude, it was really, really cool.
Was it loud? I'm sure it was fairly loud.
It was kind of loud. The funniest part of the whole night for me, if you've been to a Blue Jackets game, the same guy sings the national anthem every single time. And every single time he's done, everyone yells, Leo!
Right.
So it's not him singing the national anthem. It's like the band and some girl, I don't remember. She finishes singing and the whole stadium goes, Leo!
That's a great tribute to him. And he wasn't even there.
That was pretty cool.
That is funny. All right, Brian, so you ready to talk about some JFK?
Yeah, what an interesting one, right?
It
a
really
little bit
is.
of conspiracy theory night.
Yeah, and I thought, with now with the new administration in office, and he released the JFK files and also the MLK files, I figured why not just dive into it and just talk about some of the conspiracies around the assassination itself.
Yeah, no doubt. There's just so... you hear a lot. The primary one I always hear about is the magic bullet, but I didn't really realize until Trump released the files that there were so many alternative theories out there.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I mean, there's even UFO theories of, that we'll talk about later that I had no idea, like, potentially led to the assassination of JFK.
I don't even know if I'm aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into it in a little bit. But yeah,
Okay.
that's the part that when I was doing my research, I'm like, wow, really?
Huh.
There's a lot of twists and turns in this that I don't think most people know. It's not something that you're like, if you think about when you're in school and you're talking about JFK assassination, you hear of Lee Harvey Oswald and the magic bullet, right? That's really all you hear. You don't now later, there's some documentaries on TV that, give you, other theories of, how JFK was assassinated and why he was assassinated. But some of them I had no idea until you actually, start getting down into it.
Yeah. I this isn't one of those things that's just a mystery. It feels like it's probably a murder conspiracy that's just been hiding in plain sight for 50 years at this point or something. Yeah,
absolutely. Because, we're just not talking about Oswald during this, right? And we're not talking about the joke of the Warren Commission. We're going to unravel a tangled web that includes the CIA, the mafia, Lyndon B. Johnson, intelligence operatives, military contractors, and even, like I said, the crazy theory of the UFOs.
I like it.
Time travel.
Oh, that's new. Okay.
And MK Ultra mind control.
Time travel, huh? Is this like one of those things on Twitter where you see the photo of the guy in the street? It looks like he's holding a cell phone. You're like, son of a bitch, that guy have an iPhone? It's like 1970.
I don't know, man. It could be.
Could
be. All right. So what we're doing, I'm going to talk about like the official story right now, right? This is what everybody was probably learned in school from their parents or whatever. But so Lee Harvey Oswald, supposed lone nut, fires 3 shots from the Texas School Book Depository using an outdated bolt action rifle. All right. So,
and one of those, the magic bullet, that's what we're talking about, right? This is the one that, like you said, this is what's taught in school. This is the bullet that's fired from, I don't know, whatever, the bookstore or whatever it is, but it goes through Kennedy, and then it goes into the Texas governor at the time, who I think was Connolly. And it's like, I don't know, seven wounds, a couple different broken bones. But the amazing thing is somehow the bullet ends up on the autopsy table, right?
Yeah, hospital stretcher,
whatever
whatever it is, right? And the crazy thing about that, and I think, we'll get into it, but the bullet had no like markings on it, right? It was like, if you think
degradation.
Yeah, there we go. That's that big word we were looking for earlier. But if you think about, when we go out and just plink targets, right?
Yeah.
They mushroom.
Yep.
As soon as they hit something, whether it's flesh, whether it's something solid, they mushroom. This bullet was like in pristine condition.
Yeah.
So just kind of adds to that conspiracy theory of, did someone just happen to just like throw it on there to say, oh, here's the bullet.
Yeah.
But then, before Oswald can even stand trial, a guy named Jack Ruby, who was a nightclub owner with known mob ties, walks into the Dallas police station's basement. All right, now they're escorting him, Oswald, and this guy walks up and just executes him live on TV.
Smokes him. Yeah, live TV.
Like that's like a TV show.
It's like a statement if you're talking conspiracies, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a statement.
Yeah.
And I mean, because if you were going to assassinate an assassin, right, you would want it to be, you wouldn't want anyone to know that you did it. This dude just didn't give a shit. He just walked up, popped him live on TV. So I think, and if he had mob ties, that he had to make a statement that yes, the job was done.
It thickens the plot, right? Like,
yeah,
especially towards the conspiracy. So going back to it, like when we're talking about this guy, Oswald was a shitty shot from what I understand, and like barely passed his rifle exam or whatever, something, right?
Yeah, so Oswald was a Marine back in 1956. Now, I did locate the rifle score quals for Marines back in 1956, which are extremely lower than they are today. But
lower meaning you have to be more accurate, or meaning
lower meaning like the score, your score is lower. Your score can be lower to reach different levels. So in the Marine Corps, you have marksman, you have sharpshooter, and you have expert. Okay. So marksman is like the lowest. Like it's a pizza box. It looks like just a square with like a target on it. We always call it a pizza box, for, to make fun of all those non-shooting fucks. But anyhow, so in 1956, his rifle score qual was 212. All right. So, but for marksman back then, you had to score between 190 and 250. So he barely made it.
Bottom third.
Marine Corps shoots from 200, 300, and 500 yards, but stationary, open sight, stationary. Now I think they use ACOGs, but back when I was it was open sight. But they were stationary targets. So now they're wanting us to believe that even though he barely passed Marine Corps marksmanship, that he can hit a moving target multiple times in 8.3 seconds. And I want to say that the distance, when I did the math, it was like 88 yards, 88 and a half yards is after I did.
From the shooter to the target to Kennedy?
Yeah, from Oswald to Kennedy was like 88 yards. So almost a football field.
Okay. I actually thought it was a lot longer than that. That still seems really difficult to do, but.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think iron sights, moving target, that's still going to be a difficult shot.
Yeah.
Especially you're not going for, like a center mass shot. You're going for a very,
right.
And plus he only had, if you remember the video, he's sitting in his limousine, right, with the convertible, and you can only see
with Jackie,
a little bit of, of his head anyway.
Well, so what's crazy, and this is where, so the dude's a lower third marksman, kind of based on what you figured out. We're at sub 100 yards, we're at 88, whatever you said, but it still doesn't explain this magic bullet, which somehow just not only does what it's supposed to do, which is kill Kennedy, but then it ends up going through the governor, zigzags. Like when you look at the actual bullet trajectory, and this is what I remember most from grade school, like seeing the model rendering showing wherever the shooter was, where Kennedy's going by, and you see like the bullet trajectory down to Kennedy, then forward, then up, because it hits him in his thigh and then somehow ends up in his wrist.
Yeah, there was a lot of zigzagging going on.
Yeah, but the bullet somehow is in perfect condition. Like, does that even make sense?
No, it doesn't make sense to me at all. No.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't make sense. And then let's not forget about, Jack Ruby, right? And he claims he shot Oswald to spare Jackie Kennedy a trial. Now, I seriously don't believe that. I mean, you're going to assassinate your husband's supposed killer because you don't want her to face a trial. Well, why wouldn't you really want her to face a trial? Like what?
Why would she face a trial?
Well, Oswald, her having to go to a trial to watch her.
Oh, I see.
But I just wonder if they did that is because maybe Oswald was on to reveal some information that that certain people didn't want to get out. So what's one way of eliminating that is just to take out the source.
Right. Get rid of the information source. Is there any, so talking about the magic bullet, I'm still not over all the zigzagging, and I don't know that I've done enough shooting to really have any real knowledge of the matter, but is it even feasible for a bullet to do that? Like, I know ricochets are real, but if I go through Kennedy, this dude, maybe it was his shoulder, the thigh wouldn't really make sense, but maybe that's part of the magic bullet. I don't really remember the diagram, but regardless, can you have 7 ricochets?
I would say, I'm not a bullet, expert in a stretch of the imagination, but in my time shooting, I can see, maybe one ricochet and then it's going to hit something solid. Now it could, but the thing is, let's just say it is possible for a bullet to ricochet 7 times. There's still going to be some deformity to that bullet.
Yeah.
It's going to have...
Well, it's hitting something to give it... It's not making like the curvature of the earth slope down like you're a sniper. Like this is like a 45-degree angle in a different direction, directly.
Yeah, so there's going to be some deformity to the bullet regardless.
Yeah, has to.
So that's why, when they say it was just like a perfect bullet just sitting there, that's when, my spidey sense is like, this is just a bunch of BS.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, but that's, so him assassinating him isn't really it's not the only conspiracy. And I think that's what's so interesting. Like I said at the beginning of this, I didn't really know there were all these different conspiracies and kind of like the historical context leading up to, and I think we're going to talk about it, but the Bay of Pigs, it's really interesting.
Yeah, well, the Bay of Pigs was a huge, what is the word I'm looking for? It was a big stain on Kennedy, right? So the CIA director goes to him, says, hey, we want to overthrow Castro in Cuba, right?
Yep.
But it was basically what it was. It was just a failed CIA-backed invasion of Cuba in 1961, intended to overthrow, Fidel Castro. The CIA trained over 1,400 Cuban exiles and sent them into battle, expecting JFK to send or to provide full air support or, send military, reinforcements. But JFK refused to send in the U.S. air power, and the mission was a disaster. All right, so that was a huge black eye to Kennedy's, administration. That, here we are, we have covert operations in a foreign country, and we're trying to overthrow, a leader for that. And so then you got beg the question, well, was the CIA pissed off? Yeah, they probably were, right? So the CIA expected Kennedy to play along, and send in the full military. Well, Kennedy didn't trust him, man. Like, you want to talk about Trump right now, not trusting CIA? Kennedy was the first person that I know of that was just had hesitancies about the CIA.
Internal government corruption and just admitting that everything's not perfect.
Yep. He said that he blamed them for lying about the invasion's chances of success. Now, I would say if he would have sent in full military, I would say the chances of success would have been a little bit higher, right? But without having that and it just be 1,400 exile Cubans, Yeah, I mean, I think the chances are pretty low, but you know, that's just me. And then he fired the CIA director Alan Dulles. All right, so remember that name because that name is
Right.
huge. Who later ended up on the Warren Commission,
Which is why it's huge.
which investigating Kennedy's assassination. All right, so
Dirty ball.
so you have outspoken Kennedy about the CIA.
I
then you
believe
have-
this is what we call conflict of interest today.
Right.
I can't take part in this decision because I'm too close to the decision.
Yeah, so you've got Kennedy's dislike or distrust for CIA. Then you have the Bay of Pigs, which just fed into his distrust, right? And then 10 days, I think it was like 10 days later, it was within a short span, Kennedy gets assassinated. And then the person leading the assassination investigation was the former CIA director who Kennedy fired for the failed invasion of Cuba.
What was his original distrust in the CIA? Kennedy's.
I think he found it just like today, right? It's a bureaucracy. You've got a lot of
Gotcha.
Swamp, long time.
Kind of goes like probably into like the UFO conversations we've had with congressional hearings with like once you start following the money, it gets squirrely fast.
And so, but here's the other thing too about that, the distrust. So after the Bay of Pigs, Kennedy wanted to dismantle the CIA. All right. And he has a famously said he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter them into the winds. Now, do you think
Sounds like something you hear in like the movie Gladiator, right?
But do you think that comment sealed his fate right there?
Oh, that's
I
bold.
mean, if it's definitely bold. I mean, that's the thing about the
You know what though? That's what I appreciate about a president. Like you are my elected official. You are speaking on my behalf. I guarantee a lot of people are pissed off for one reason or another, and it's nice to have somebody that's outspoken.
Well, and the thing is that agency is so secretive that I mean, you could be a member of the CIA and I wouldn't even know it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you have ulterior, personas and I mean, there's no such thing as a random conversation. Let's put it that way. Anytime you go to have a conversation with somebody, you're trying to get something, right? And they're like the fucking masters of random conversations.
Manipulation.
Yeah.
Huh.
So then comes all right, so then we have the assassination, right? So now we're going to get into the Warren Commission.
Okay.
So the Warren Commission comprised of 7 people. And this is where it just gets, I can understand now why the government was just trying to hide shit, and if you remember, on our last episode, when we had Adam, and Adams stated, I don't think there's anything to be released that's like kind of, stuff that we don't really know already.
Everything's going to be blacked out. Yeah.
But it's going to be a black eye for the CIA. And if you think about it, this kind of would be a black eye to the CIA, not only because of the lack of information provided to Kennedy about the Bay of Pigs, but also, now you have, so the Warren Commission consisted of Alan Dulles, the fired CIA director. He had a grudge, obviously, against JFK for
clearly a big one.
for firing him, and now he's Now he's the lead investigator, the
Again,
investigator
conflict of interest.
for his murder. Yeah. Then you have Gerald Ford, the future president.
All right.
He secretly leaked Warren Commission info to J. Edgar Hoover's FBI. And then Earl Warren, Chief Justice, pressured LBJ to go along with the official story, which was the
exert some influence.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you got John McCloy, the military industrial complex insider, and he had every reason to protect the establishment, right? So if you're military insider or lobbyist or whatever you are, you want military operations to continue, right? Whether they're
of course
clandestine or full scale, just because of money.
Yeah, war makes money. But that whole group, everyone you just listed, not everyone, I guess. I don't know that much about some of them, but that just feels like you are set up to drop the hammer and it's going to be very one-sided.
Well, yeah. I mean, think about it. I mean, it would be like,
it's not a neutral party, I guess.
Oh,
is
no.
the term.
No, it's kind of like, if you want to get really political, what people say about the January 6th committee, right? Like it was not a fair committee to some people out in the community, just because they were handpicked obviously the Democrat led, but then they found the two Republican senators that
I don't know what the January 6th committee is.
the January 6th riots. They investigated the riots of January 6th when President Trump didn't win re-election.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so they picked two or three, I think there might have been two or three Republicans on it, but they picked the three that absolutely despise Trump. So you already have that built into the committee that it's going to be a biased.
It's not impartial.
Yeah, it's going to be a very biased committee. And so the reason that I think that the Warren Commission was just a bunch of bullshit is they supposedly ignored witnesses who heard shots from the grassy knoll. We already hear that
Famous story
of the grassy knoll. Didn't properly investigate Oswald's ties to the CIA or FBI.
Hold on, just real quick, because you said the grassy knoll, and we skipped over something that I always thought was really interesting, which was where Kennedy, in the video where Kennedy gets shot, it's a bright sunny day in Dallas, right? There is a guy holding an umbrella that is open outside, and you can't help but wonder, like, if I'm a rifle guy and I'm trying to hit a specific yardage, and I tell whoever this is, hold your umbrella at X yardage, then I know exactly my aim point.
Right. It would almost be like if you were wanting to set off like when we were in Iraq, right? You have an aim point. If the insurgents was wanting to set off a IED. They knew that if a vehicle got to a certain marker that they set out that only they know about, some of them were obvious, some of them weren't. If they click the old clacker right there at that moment, they hit the button, the vehicle would be on top of the IED, and that's how they detonated it.
Yeah.
So yes, that umbrella theory, that is out there as somebody was out there. Then, then they obviously relied on the magic bullet theory to justify the lone gunman story. I mean, the Warren Commission wasn't an investigation at all in my book. It was a script, right? Like it was designed to cover up the real story. The real story is who all was actually involved in this. Was it the CIA? Was it the FBI? Was it other, clandestine departments or whatever within the government? Was it mob related? Was it actually Cuba, retaliating for the potential overthrow of their country?
Yeah, and you can't help but wonder if that wasn't done on purpose with the intent to kind of be like, if this was a conspiracy, then the government is indicted within the conspiracy because of its role.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct, and they don't want that image.
Yeah.
Can you think about that for a minute? Like, you're an elected official. The American people overwhelmingly elected Kennedy, from my understanding. I mean, obviously I wasn't alive. You might have been, but I wasn't.
I was wondering if you were going to bring in the time traveler stuff. We did drop that nugget at the beginning. I'm looking forward to whatever that is.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I think we're going to get to that. We'll get to that. But, and if your own government has any ties to your assassination, you want to talk about an uprising, right? So they have to deflect. They have to come out with something crazy. For one, you're going to do it in broad daylight in front of thousands of people who are out there, to watch the president drive by.
Yep.
So you would have thought that they would have had, maybe they didn't have time, but you would have thought they would have had a little bit more elaborate of a story, or maybe they would have chose a different place, right? Like something there was less witnesses. Because I remember actually on Rogan, I think they showed a video. So Kennedy's vehicle's coming down the road, and there's this famous tree, right? But in the original video, the tree's not there. But the tree's there in the original video, but it's not really the original video, supposedly. Yeah, there's some weird shit in the.
Wow.
Yeah,
I hadn't heard that.
There's some stuff out there that's pretty intriguing. If you really want to go down the rabbit hole, dude, there's a lot of stuff out there.
The red pill, blue pill, where you want to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah. So then it comes to UFO UAPs, right? Kennedy, so now we have the Majestic 12 documents. Kennedy wanted to reveal UFOs. Allegedly top secret government files about a classified group handling UFO investigations. What are we hearing about today?
Oh, yeah, man. The same shit.
Classified group. Yeah. So this isn't anything new to our era. This has been around for a while. It's just that no one has, other than President Trump right now, no other president's been like, oh, we're going to disclose X, Y, and Z about UFOs, UAPs.
And one's a Democrat and one's a Republican. But we are unified over UFOs, damn it.
We are.
We want to know the truth.
Yeah, but Kennedy, suggested that Kennedy demanded full access to classified UFO files just 10 days before his assassination. So I had that wrong. It was 10 days he demanded. 10 days prior to his assassination, he demanded that these files, there's full disclosure, and he gets assassinated. A burned memo suggests a CIA warning. Lancer JFK has made some inquiries regarding our activities, which we cannot allow, supposedly. Dun, dun, dun.
Regardless of this, this stuff almost feels a little bit like hearsay, but you cannot ignore the Warren Commission and the makeup of the Warren Commission.
No, you can't ignore that. That's just, that's just blatant, disregard to, due process. The
UFO piece is super interesting. What, any idea where that stemmed from? What was there something going on at the time that wanted to come out? I know Jackie Gleason has some kind of story where I forget, it wasn't Kennedy, but somebody took him to see an actual UFO and he freaked out and then built a UFO house and was hardcore into it, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know. I didn't find anything.
Because he's obviously associated with Hollywood, right? The whole Marilyn Monroe thing. So if Jackie Gleason's around that period, maybe that's I don't know.
I didn't see anything in my research, and I actually didn't even think about looking that up, of why he wanted to reveal the UFOs. But I didn't look that up. That's, shame on me.
I guess Roswell too. We're probably shortly after Roswell.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But,
okay.
Yeah, but he planned to share classified UFO intel with, supposedly then here's the question: was JFK trying to expose the UFO cover-up? Well, JFK supposedly planned to share classified UFO intel with the Soviets. The CIA and military didn't want disclosure. Could have this been the motive, right? Now we're sharing potential UFO, UAP, extraterrestrial information with our staunch enemy, the Soviets.
I guess.
I know. I just think it's a bunch of bullshit.
It seems like smoke and mirrors for sure.
But can you imagine if that actually came out that was the reason he was assassinated? Was because he wanted full disclosure of extraterrestrial life.
Oh shit, hold on. Here's a mind bender. What if, and we've talked about this before, what if UFO, UAP disclosure is a real thing and the government's working towards it, and the release of these files is all geared towards the whole thing has been real since Kennedy, and it's all part of the greater disclosure campaign, 50 years in the making.
So are you talking about the time travel where they went back and actually set this in motion?
No, they've been thinking about it for 50 years.
To disclose now?
Yeah. Or maybe they're thinking now that this creates the perfect narration of this is all part of protecting us against UFO, UAP threats.
Or what if the future us went back in time travel, because they did release those, per Kennedy, they released it.
Oh, and they fixed it.
And it set off some whatever firestorm. Ooh. So to eliminate that from happening, they had, they set up this whole scheme.
Maybe we should use this show to start conspiracies.
We should.
Let's not review them. Let's just start them.
Let's just start conspiracies. That'd be great. Yeah, I like it. Oh. So then you got to ask the question, was Oswald a CIA controlled assassin? Was he part of this MK Ultra? So MK Ultra, if I remember right, who was the
dude? MK Ultra was some weird ass shit. MK Ultra is one of those programs where it really makes you question, where the fuck are my tax dollars going? So MK Ultra. So Charles Manson went through MK Ultra, and MK Ultra was it was CIA. But yeah, so CIA, they were feeding these people hallucinogenic drugs like LSD, psilocybin, and they were basically being brainwashed to be mindless killers and forget the murders that they did.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And you got to remember they used hypnosis right? And then psychological torture as
Actually,
well on top of all that.
We should talk about Charles Manson. That would actually be a really interesting conspiracy theory on its own accord for MK Ultra too.
Yeah, we'll add that to our list.
Yeah, but that whole program is just really, really bizarre. Let's make, mindless killers.
Yeah. And then, Oswald spent time in the USSR. Was he being programmed over there? Was our CIA and the Soviets working together to create this, assassin?
What role did Kennedy have in that relationship then?
Was he married to a Russian?
No, Jacqueline Kennedy.
What was your question you just asked me? I thought you asked about Oswald.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, now I confused myself. Carry on.
Oh, shit. I'm glad we edited this isn't live.
Eh.
Blooper reels.
Two dudes drinking beers in a garage. That's what happens.
It's not
This is real conversation.
It's not perfection. So then there was CIA experiments in New Orleans where Oswald lived before the assassination as well. Now, what those experiments were, I don't know. I don't know what those, I don't know anything about those, but that was just in the research that, supposedly there was some type of CIA experiments down there. But I'm assuming that those experiments had something to do with this MK Ultra.
Interesting. Okay.
And then, there's obviously Oswald's claim that his calm reaction to his after being arrested, classic sign of mind control. He said he was a patsy, which is basically just a fall guy in the criminal world. Someone you want to set up.
It's not a term you hear thrown out there very often.
No, not really.
Pansy, not patsy.
Patsy, not.
Pansy, not patsy.
It's not patsy?
No, I'm saying the other term is pansy.
Oh, yeah. There we go. You're getting me all confused now.
Yeah.
So then to make this even more crazier about the MK Ultra, now you got to throw in Jack Ruby's connection to it.
Okay.
So Jack Ruby was the bar owner, mob-connected guy that shot him in the basement of, Dallas Police Department station. After killing Oswald, Ruby began claiming he was controlled, and then he told investigators he was injected with something in jail. Supposedly, that's what I don't know.
Injected with something in jail.
Yeah, so Ruby was saying that after he killed Oswald, Ruby began to claim he was controlled, and he told investigators he was injected with something in jail.
Maybe he dropped the soap in the shower.
He got injected with something, all right. That went down the
that was the blue pill or the boner pill per Jason.
Yeah, I'm sure they have those in there for sure.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, do we call this the ultimate cover up?
It is interesting, isn't it? There are so many different hands at play. You've got the connection to the CIA, and I love the UFO disclosure part. Like I said when we started, I never knew that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But it would be fairly interesting to find out if that was the sole reason why there were. I mean, obviously you got the Bay of Pigs fiasco, right? You got the firing of the CIA director.
That's a significant component. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a big black eye. But I think, if you think about it, could it be that, the Bay of Pigs with the wanting to release or declassify all this UFO stuff, was that just kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back?
Right.
And they're like, he's getting too crazy. We gotta silence this person.
Do you think the government? Let's just say that the government wants to disclose UFOs, and they go back in time to say, you know what, we actually killed President Kennedy. Our bad. Would we pardon them for that?
Aliens?
Yeah.
Or time travelers?
To cover up disclosure back at the time of Kennedy's assassination. Pardons are a big part of the conversation right now. Mm-hmm. So we know there's bullshit at play, right? There's money changing hands that no one can account for. So some shenanigans are at play. And to drive disclosure, which I think is important, do you pardon people that are covering up the money trail, the information trail, because you want the information out and we just have to move forward? Or do you say, no, you were unjust to withhold this information. It should have been your duty to tell us the whole time. Therefore, we're going to penalize you X, Y, Z.
Are you talking about like witnesses?
Yeah.
So instead of like whistleblowers, you've got people
well-
who are just sitting on the information and they should have came forward but didn't. And
Or they, to use legal terms, they knowingly and willfully did something they knew was wrong.
yeah, but see, I think that happens in the government all the time.
That's what I'm saying. I think I'm team you pardon people and let's hear what the real story is. Like, let's hear the real story of why JFK was assassinated. Let's hear the real story of why are you covering up UFOs, UAPs?
Well, I guarantee if they pardoned some people that had information, I can almost guarantee they would not live long.
Yeah. Afterwards, you mean?
I'm just saying, like, okay, if they came out, if the government was like, say the Senate, whatever, was like, we're having a hearing, the president pardoned Brian, and he's coming in on this date to give full disclosure on these programs.
Unfortunately, he fell down the stairs.
Yeah. Somehow he decided he wanted to make toast in the bathtub.
Right.
And,
Right.
didn't make it.
I don't know. But we are really the people with power are really good at covering stuff up. And you can look at the Epstein Island and all this bullshit. Like the list of people incorporated into that are some high dollar figures, and that list continues to be delayed and delayed and delayed. So like if you have money and a little bit of power, you can at least push the clock out so far that you may be dead by the time something comes of it.
But I mean, if you think about it, it's just scary that,
It is.
you know, like for those people out there that are just hard in the paint that the government is amazing and they don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
I think you need to sit back and reflect and go back through history because, you know, one, our government's not perfect. Nobody is. But,
Right.
you know, there's this deep state that we keep hearing even today. And this was evident right here that there was deep state. I mean, if you look at the Warren Commission, right? Like, couldn't get any more deep state than that.
Yeah.
You know, you got a former president on there. You've got the person you just fired, right? Like, so that's why. And the thing is, you know, if let's just say this was a government action, right? They had to have known that conspiracy theories were going to take place, but is that part of the manipulation? Right. So if when you have conspiracy theories, it's because
I don't think we're that smart.
I think but it's mind control. Think about it. So if we give you this, like, this is what happened, right? And everyone's like,
Here's a bunch of acid. We're going to put you with Charles Manson.
No, I'm just saying, like, if they sit there and they're like, all right, this is the truth, but nothing seems correct. Now you're going to have people doing their own internal investigations. So at some point over the years, the truth, whatever truth there was, is so distorted because there's so many different ideas and theories and whatever, and it completely, you know, pulls the veil over the actual truth.
Yeah.
So it could be, you know, they've been doing, you know, disinformation for years, and we've talked about that. Mm-hmm. And this is probably one of the biggest disinformation things out there.
You know what? I like conspiracy theories so much more than cults.
Oh no, I love a good cult. I mean, I love conspiracy theories, but I do.
I know you fucking love cults. Well, I just giving you shit. This is actually really interesting. Like it feels like, and I'm only saying this, I think, because it's what I was taught in school. And I'm like, if the teacher taught me it, I should probably believe it. The magic bullet theory, I guess, is something. It's not the grassy knoll guy.
I don't even think that's even probable.
I don't know.
Or plausible.
I don't know.
I think that's just a bunch of bullshit. I do not believe that a bullet went through two people and took 90-degray angles, or
really 3 people, because it hit the governor twice.
Yeah. So that's another thing, right? So whatever. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. I don't believe it. I don't think that that's actually what happened. What's more plausible to me that there was potentially 3 different shooters. 3 different areas, whether, they claim that maybe there was a storm drain, you got the person with the black umbrella, you got, then there was obviously the bookstore, and then there was another building that potentially someone could have been at. So there's just so many different theories out there that this and this is what really pisses me off, even though there's going to be full disclosure of this, full disclosure, air quotes, is because everything's going to be fucking redacted.
Yeah, 100%. This is all going to be blacked out.
Yeah, there's not going to be any information there whatsoever.
No.
There's going to be like 5,000 pages, and it's just going to say JFK was assassinated. The end. Oh, Oswald.
Maybe that was just to make RFK Jr. feel a little bit better about himself after Trump appointed him.
What? The assassination?
Yeah, that it's out. That
it's
released.
Okay, it was part of like, hey, come be my
maybe
health person and all.
Even though there's nothing worthwhile in there, or at least if has anything of significance come out since those?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
No, not yet. So I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting topic, man, and I'm curious. Maybe we'll do a follow-up, video, whether maybe it's a short video or something on, if there is disclosure. We'll read through the, page and a half of notes, because I guarantee if it's say 5,000 pages, it's literally probably gonna be a page of actual information through all those pages.
Yeah, probably by the time you're done.
Yeah. And then you have to, it's like kind of like a murder, right? Where they send you that note and it's all like clipped out like letters and stuff. They have like one letter per sheet and you have to paste them all together to get a word.
Perfect.
You have to figure it out.
Yeah, perfect.
So, all right, Brian, what do you think about this one?
I like it. I enjoy the conspiracy theory conversation. It's cool because, you heard about this in school growing up. Like, this was the big assassination at least the biggest assassination that I can think. Well, I guess, no, actually there have been a lot. Anyway, it's been cool to talk about. And I didn't know the connections with I knew the Bay of Pigs, but the UFO thing was totally out of the blue. I didn't know anything about that. And I didn't know the MK Ultra tied into this at all. So
yeah, those are the two things that I didn't know anything about the MK Ultra. It almost makes me think, when I first read MK Ultra, it took me back to like one of the Marvel movies, right?
it sounds like that, doesn't it?
It really does sound like that. I'm like, holy
comic
shit.
book series or something.
Yeah. But no, I think it's fascinating. Obviously, conspiracy theories are always fun to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to admit, there are some conspiracy theories out there that are just so freaking wild that are like, you can't really believe it. But they were still fun to talk about. This one, just none of the original story makes any sense to me.
It is weird. And our show is mostly conspiracy theories, if you think about it, because 90% of the shit we hear is shit, and 10% is real, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still waiting for this disclosure from Greer.
Yeah, right. Like, I will say at work all the time, trust is sincerity, credibility, and competency. And if you're missing one of those three things, there's no way anybody can ever trust you. And this guy, his credibility's on the line, right? Like, because he said, we're going to have disclosure in a couple weeks, maybe a month. And that's been like, I don't know, 2-3 months ago at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we follow him on TikTok and I stopped watching his videos.
Did you?
Because, he was like, oh, we're getting ready to have full transparency and something big is going to be coming out. And it's just like continually dangling that carrot. Right. And it's just like, at some point, to your point, credibility is going to get lost because everyone's just like, no one's going to tune into you at that point because everything out of your mouth is just going to be like.
Would you believe him if we did the CE5 protocol and called in orbs?
Well, I mean, seeing is believing, right?
I don't know. I guess if you believe in his protocol.
I mean, I don't necessarily doubt his abilities to be able to see what he sees. I doubt that this fucking shit's going to come out. Because they've been screaming this. Even Alonzo, whatever his name is.
Lou Elizondo.
Yeah. He's on TikTok saying that, shit's going to be released and crickets. Mm-hmm. So why are they so willing to do this right now, right? So that they're like the big
media
pushers
attention, I guess,
for transparency, but they're putting out these like little feelers or they're dangling these carrots and nothing is happening.
Well, and everyone's writing a book too.
Yeah, but the question is, but why? But why would you do that, right? So you're supposed to be like the top people that are knowledgeable about this information. Like you have abilities and skills. The other guy was part of this clandestine black ops, whatever, UFO retrieval / whatever.
Yeah.
Well, not Barber, but the Elizondo guy.
Oh.
So he was the head of that program, right?
Hero.
Yeah. So why would you come out and start saying shit that potentially isn't going to actually happen? Because it's your credibility. You're going in front of Congress claiming all this stuff. But now you're getting on TikTok or YouTube and say, in less than 10 days, we are going to have full transparency. The mothership is coming.
Did he actually say that?
No, I'm just fucking whatever. But it's just to that point that they're saying that something is going to be released. There's going to be big news. Something is going to be either discovered or, released, and nothing happens. And it just makes me doubt them. Like everything that they've said just makes me doubt.
I don't know. Can't wait to find out. I hope it happens in our lifetime. I feel like it will.
Well, I mean,
I feel like we're really, dude, this is like, you can relate to this. This is like being a Cincinnati Bengals fan, right? I come into the season, I'm like, son of a bitch, we're going to make the Super Bowl. And that's how I feel with all this disclosure with Corbell, Jacob Barber, Grush, all this stuff. I'm like, this shit's coming to a head. It's like me at the beginning of the NFL season. Like, fucking Bengals are stocked and loaded, baby. We're going to the Super Bowl, hell or high water. Week 4, your quarterback gets injured, season's a wash. I kind of feel like we're at that point in the UFO disclosure. Like nothing crazy is going on. It's either the calm before the storm or we've just kind of fizzled out.
I think the best analogy would be if you're a Browns fan, right? You have a great team on roster, but you just know you're going to fucking suck and you're not going to make it to, even though you hope that you're going to make the Super Bowl, you know deep down it's not going to happen. Yeah. That's what this is.
But you're so loose and relaxed from the massages.
Who doesn't want the old rub and tug? Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
All right. So I hope you like this video. We are now on TikTok, by the way.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. I really like TikTok. Like, I don't know. I never got into it. I never really watched videos. And then you downloaded it and we were like messing around. I was like sucked in fast.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's, we've got, 260 some followers on there right now. Cool. So we've been on there for about,
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that, for about 2.5 weeks now. So that's pretty good. We also picked up some YouTube followers from TikTok as well. So our subscribers. So that's awesome. Let us know what you think of this episode. Send us an email. OtherWorldlyEncounters2024@gmail.com. Leave a comment, find us on TikTok.
Yeah, share us with your friends. Let us know what stories and questions and things you have. Love to get viewer engagement. Always makes it more fun.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, until the next time, keep your mind open, your eyes on the sky. You never know what's going to fly by.
And with that, we'll catch you on the next one.